Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Among or between friends, you always ask for a favor, you don't demand a favor. So in this case we have supposedly some friends which are two countries, and that is Germany and Ukraine. I don't think the language used by the Ukrainian ambassador to demand weapons from Germany is one of that should be used or is used between friends. So let's get into this one. This article comes from the New Voice of Ukraine. It's from today, October 30th, 2022. Ambassador Makayev asks Germany to speed up military aid for Ukraine. The title is misleading, and I'm talking about the word asks. So, Ambassador of Ukraine to Germany, Oleksiy Makayev, in an October 29th interview with German Bild, urges Germany to speed up military support for Ukraine to fight against Russia. I don't think that urge and ask are synonyms. I do not think the dictionary says that, but hey, maybe with a big stretch might mean that one. So, having been asked about what he would request from the federal government, he answered, just more speed. And I'm quoting, when I look at Germany's actions amid this war, I sometimes think there is German sports car driving along the Autobahn at 20 miles per hour. Instead of delivering quickly, which would help in the fight against the Russians, they spend weeks explaining why the Ukrainian demands could not be met, the Ukrainian diplomat claimed. Well, see, here is the word demands, not requests. You don't demand from a friend, you request or you ask. But he uses the right words. The Ukrainian demands. Okay, maybe I'm just interpreting wrong, but I consult the dictionary because I have to and because I want to be precise in what I'm saying here. Now, it's true that German sports car driving along the Autobahn at 20 miles per hour. The problem is maybe the driver does not want to drive that car faster than that. It doesn't have to, unless you demand it, and then you get in a little contradiction here. He said it could last for weeks, even months, so it's, and I'm quoting, almost too late by the time Berlin finally agrees to help. Well, demand is not help. I urge you is not help. It's kind of like a you gotta. And I'm quoting, it happened with armored vehicles, artillery and missile systems. You could do so much more, so much faster. But on the other hand, if they don't wanna, they could do nothing. So your alternative is only unidirectional, which they have to do that, they must do that. But what if they say no? And they agreed to do it, and you still have complaints that they don't do it fast enough for your demands. Remember, this is a country with some leaders, Ukraine, that was unknown prior to February 24th, 2022 to the Germans mostly. And believe me, they didn't care about it and didn't know much about it, didn't know anything about, did not want to know anything about Ukraine. It was not in the Germans' mind. It was something like, like you're in a town and it's somewhere in your town is a neighborhood that you don't really want to know about. You know it's poor and full of crime and corruption, and it's far away and you're glad it's so far away from where you live, but you know it's there. Now imagine one of those guys over there, leader of that kind of neighborhood, comes to you and demands that you should do this for them and you should do that and you should move faster and you should help me and wouldn't you say, why don't you get the fuck out of here? okay? And when I call you, you come back here, okay? When I call you. Until I call you, just stay over there and do what you've been doing, corrupt and all that, okay? But no, that guy dares with a chutzpah to show up in your neighborhood and tell you you're not doing fast enough what he demands of you to do. Now, how would you feel as a German, a Ukrainian to come and demand, or let's put it even worse, a Romanian would come, you know? A Zigeuner, as you call the Romanians. Remember? Zigeuner? You know what it is, right? That's how you call everyone. That's a derogatory term that you use to people you really consider of a certain kind of, you know, Zigeuner, remember? Okay. Now, by the way, that means gypsy for my non-German speaking friends here. All right, and it goes here further. The ambassador claimed, as the German government has been repeatedly told, Ukraine needs tanks and long-range artillery. That's all we need. No, you didn't need that. Now you got to the mountain slope model, and that's what the only thing that you were not given, aside from nuclear weapons, is this: aircraft and tanks. Everything else you got. Tanks you just got from Slovenia. Tanks you ask from these guys and they will give you, right? And airplanes they would give you. That's the next step, I guarantee you, they will receive. So it says here, the ambassador claimed, as the German government has been repeatedly told, they were told, Ukraine needs tanks, man, and long-range artillery to oust the Russians. The ammunition left since the Soviet times wouldn't be helpful, but the German weapons save lives. That thing was done in order to create a guilt, a feeling of guilt, Deutsche guilt, like the Second World War guilt. And it's another guilt that I don't want to use it here, but you know, Second World War, that kind of guilt. Forever guilt, forever, forever. So now he turned into guilt. If you don't do that, people die, and that is because of you. No, it's not because of me, it's because of you. Ukrainians, leaders of Ukraine, the 4 Jews, leaders of Ukraine, it's because of you. Because you accepted to be the servants of other interests across the Atlantic Ocean, Zimbabwe. Remember? And those guys over there in Zimbabwe, those leaders, they are listening to other interests, mainly 3. Okay? And I'm quoting, "In my own words, I like German wild animals, especially cheetah, leopard, that's leopard tanks, and Mardens, okay?" Makeyev said, bearing in mind tanks and infantry fighting vehicles, Olaf Scholz refuses to provide Ukraine even despite calls in the Bundestag. Scholz explained his position about transferring weapons to Ukraine with coalition decisions, as Lars Klingbeil said the government coalition had unanimously agreed not to supply the Leopard 2 because there's a tank, because it would take a long time to train Ukrainian tank crews. That's not true. It's just that you are ballless. And if you need so much to train Ukrainian tank crews, how can you train them to operate HIMARS, missile launchers? Because according to retired U.S. Colonel Douglas McGregor, you know him, and if you don't, I would urge you and ask you to check him out, right? It's on YouTube. He said there's no way the Ukrainians could be trained to operate the HIMARS in such a short time, because in order to operate it and be able to use it, you need a lot of training. He said, the same colonel, retired colonel, he said those who use those HIMARS in Ukraine must be contractors. He doesn't talk more about it. Now, these guys say, no, it takes too long, that's why we don't give them. That's just a postponing. That's what it is. Instead of saying, hey, go back over there to your nasty neighborhood full of corruption, and come back when I call you. So, what were you saying? Yeah, okay. You're still here? Anyway, that's how you should treat this guy. No, this guy shows up with his dirty boots on your chancellery, right? And he's demanding that you speed up. Hurry up, boy. You're not fast enough serving me. Well, a person with minimum ego and, I don't know, a little bit of self-respect would have done what I just said 25 seconds ago. Will treat this guy. Go back, put your boots back on your fucking mouth, and walk back. All right? By the way, don't use our airplanes. And don't use our Autobahn. I'm so irritated with this kind of attitude. And now, one more reason to refuse to provide Ukraine with military aid was the Germans' attitude that wasn't in favor of arms deliveries. On October 16, Germany's Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock, below 86 IQ person, said air defense systems are top priority for Ukraine right now, while tanks are secondary question. Now, this is a secondary question. There is the confirmation that is not about giving or not giving, is about when. So they already climbed another step in the mountain slope model from we're not going to give them tanks. Maybe they need tanks. Oh, maybe we discuss about giving them. Well, maybe we give them. Yeah, we give them when we give them. Yes, we give them. So that's the way it goes. So there is no more discussion if, is only when. And this guy wants it chop chop right now. My God. On October 11th, the first out of the 4 IRIS-T air defense system Germany is to deliver was reported to have arrived in Ukraine. The remaining equipment is expected to be shipped as soon as possible. Remember the guy from that kind of neighborhood coming and making these demands? Fast, man. I owe you nothing. Why do you think you can come and demand these kind of things? Is because you are his man? Yes. And his man occupies me? Yes. It's very simple. It's a game here. That guy knows that he can tell me he can be as rude as he wants because the same boss owns me as the same boss owns him. So it's like between losers, the conversation. The decision is here. They're just saying, come on, man. The delivery, man. The drugs are not here yet. You're supposed to. This is not this guy's boss. This guy is not his boss. That is their boss. And these guys are just thugs. Why? Because you can't be something else than a thug or a weasel if you have such a boss. Don't you think? Otherwise, you're a servant. If you're not a thug, you're a servant. You can't tell me you're an independent, strong country and sovereign country if you behave like this, like Germany and like these guys from Ukraine. They will receive tanks and they will receive airplanes, fighter jets, as soon as they can, if the war doesn't end by then. I don't know how that would end. I mean, I know I have some theories, but it's not for this video. They're not for this video. All right, then Putin goes, or these guys are just starving in Europe and they will say no more. That's the two options I see, but I don't think so. If these guys are willing to have the Ukrainians be decapitated as a nation, why wouldn't care about the German people being starving? No. For those guys, don't matter the Americans starving, Ukrainians starving, or Germans starving. No, it's not them. That's the way they look at it. They are on the payroll of the interests, remember? And there are 3, as I said, not here. In the military-industrial complex, financial system, banks. Okay, and the third one is the energy sector. These are the main ones. And when I talk about military, I also include in there the intelligence community. The guy with guns. Okay? Those are the ones. And those are on top of everybody else because they can get the other 2 whenever they want. All right, the other two cannot get those guns. These guys don't have the guns. These guys have the guns. And these guys, if they want to get the guns, these guys, they're going to them up. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.